Clear prop.
Star 738, Yankee number 2, following twin traffic, 3 mile final, clear Pleasantville. 1 Charlie Bravo, exit in runway 25, going 4 mile final.
This is Behind the Prop with United Flight Systems owner and licensed pilot Bobby Doss and his co-host, Major Airline Captain and designated pilot examiner Wally Mulhern. Now let's go Behind the Prop.
What's up, Wally?
Hey, Bobby, how are you?
I'm good. We've got a guest that I've probably been trying to lure on the show for at least a couple months. Most recently, Sun and the Fun got in the way of that visit on the show. But today we have with us Brian Hough, the Executive Director of the School of Aeronautics at Liberty University. Thanks for joining the show, Brian.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Bobby and Wally. It's my pleasure to be here.
So I got introduced to Brian probably almost 2 years ago now, pre-pandemic, and we bought the flight school and wanted to be a partner with a big university and make better pilots. And I think we got real close. Then the pandemic happened and travel restrictions kept things from making it a reality. But I guess it's been almost 9 months now that Brian came to visit and saw our operations and thought we were a good affiliate for them. And we joined the team, and it's been a lot of fun since. So I think our joint customers are getting a great flight experience, a great education. And I'm passionate about sharing this with aviators because so many people need a college degree, don't know they need that college degree in aviation. Or if they do, they think of this longer path, this associate's degree, and maybe I'll give my 4-year degree before I go to the majors. I guess, Brian, tell us a little bit about you and your aviation career, and then let's jump right into, why is Liberty such a good choice for future aviators?
Absolutely. Well, it's, I'm a licensed pilot and have all of my ratings, instructor ratings. And I went into, flight school management across a couple of different flight schools, been a chief instructor and a pilot examiner. And then now in the academic realm for Liberty University. And across that time, when we worked in the flight school era, we kept having the same problem. For those of you that have been around long enough, we remember back in the era where there were a few banks that would lend for flight training. And those banks have since stopped lending for that. And it became very difficult for students to fund the dollar figure that we're talking about for flight training. So what we wanted to put together was a collegiate partnership initially that would provide those loans for the students because a student just has some difficulty potentially walking into their local bank and obtaining, a loan for $60,000 where we have the resources for that. So that was something that drove the initial spark and desire for what I was looking for. Then there was more of a need for a college degree in aviation. We saw an immense number of people that were in the regional airlines and did not have a college degree, and they wanted to move on to a larger career from where they were, and it needed that. So we wanted to develop an academic degree finish-up option. And then the thought process of expanding Liberty's online degree kind of came into play. And that's where why we're here today was the genesis behind what the Flight Training Affiliate Program has been developed from. And we wanted to build a program available to students nationwide that brought cost, convenience, and time to the table. We wanted the cost factor. We wanted to develop something that was going to be the least expensive collegiate flight training option that was in the market today. And, to do that, we had to eliminate some overhead. And, yes, Liberty University, being that Liberty we're located in Lynchburg, Virginia, is our home base, the campus. And for those of you that don't know exactly where that is, if you take Washington, D.C. and Charlotte, draw a straight line, we're right in the middle of the Blue Ridge Mountains. But, you know, we've got quite a bit going on here at the main campus. For those of you, it's Liberty's been in March Madness with our basketball team. We've got a Division I football team that, you know, has been in the bowl games twice and won. For those of you that like NASCAR, we sponsor a NASCAR driver. But besides that, our airport's busy. We've got over 30 airplanes here and 500 students flying locally. The flight training affiliate network that we're talking about here is now over 88 locations nationwide, from Honolulu to Miami, and over 3,600 students across that particular network, which, if you use that variable alone, okay, Liberty is now the largest collegiate degree flight training program in the country, because we're not only have 3,600 online, 500 residential that are in a flight degree, we're growing 40% a year. And we're putting out over 1,000 graduates into the industry every year. So it's something that just those sheer numbers are drawing in more and more people because of that cost. Now, the convenience factor is another one, and that's the second thing that we wanted to bring. What we wanted to do was go after an audience that I felt many other schools left behind. And those are what I can call the career changers. Those students that are potentially the 30, 40 somethings. They have a full-time job. They have, you know, a wife and kids and things like that are their other commitments. And what happens is they can't unplug from their job to go to a full-time college or university or relocate for that, because the college may have classes that are in a classroom Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 10 to 2, and it just doesn't work for them. So many of these individuals may have a job that supports their family, but they hate it. They really want out. It wasn't their dream. So our opportunity is flexible because all of our courses are 100% online, and then we partner with a flight school that's right down the road. So now these individuals can have that full-time job, and then around their schedule, evenings and weekends and so on, they're able to go down to the local airport and complete all of their flight training. So they do their entire degree online, they flight train around their schedule, and we've given them their degree back and their dream back. So this is something that those students are very motivated, very thankful, because that's just a population that many of the schools have forgot about. Now, in addition to that, we do have high school dual enrollment programs, normal student paths, and degree finish-up paths. If you're already in the airline, we give you 55 credits for all of your aviation experience, and you can finish your degree online in just over a year. So it's an amazing thing for those particular students. Now, the last part was, I said, cost, convenience, and then time. What we wanted to do was, you know, not waste a student's time. We wanted them to get through this as fast as they can. Okay. And we offer a bachelor's degree, which most locations call that a 4-year degree. They call it a 4-year degree because it's 8 semesters. Most of your brick and mortar schools take summers off, and that's why they consider it a 4-year degree. At Liberty, we go year round. So that 4-year degree, 8 consecutive semesters, is completed in 2.5 years instead of 4. So without accelerating your classes or training or anything else, and no prior experience, okay, we've already shortened your degree 1.5 years. So those are some things that we've brought to the table, and that we built this vision on originally, and we continue to improve it by talking to the flight schools. We truly view this as a business partnership, and iron sharpens iron. So when we get ideas back from them, we've expanded on things, we've augmented, and we want to bring more to the students, so that every one of them is poised for an amazing career and success in the future.
Well, that was a great summary, and I think I'm going to use a lot of those numbers in my marketing material. That United Flight Systems now has 88 locations around the country. It was just in partnership with Liberty through the flight affiliate program. Might not work, but I might try it. The benefit goes well beyond those three things: cost, convenience, and time for a number of people. I was a police officer many moons ago, and everywhere on your website, marketing material, first responders, veterans is a big part of what Liberty's doing. Can you describe maybe some benefits for veterans and first responders that Liberty's providing?
Absolutely. And you'll see, for example, and those of you that came to see us at our air shows, just the shirts that we wear at the air shows, the hats, everything that we've got says that Liberty University is a proud sponsor, of our veterans. We wholeheartedly support our veterans and want to do everything we can for them. What we do is we offer a significant tuition discount to our veterans. It's a good discount, hundreds of dollars off per credit. For those particular students as they take the course. In addition to that, we provide for those that are eligible the Yellow Ribbon scholarship that can be used for tuition and flight training. And we've set the program up so that it's able to allow a student to progress through at a full-time pace, taking classes, taking the flight courses as they go through the particular program. The Veterans Administration does not cover the initial course, which is the private pilot, but all of the other courses and online courses are fully funded, and they're covered by the yellow ribbon that we have in our particular course. Now, even though the private pilot is not covered by yellow ribbon, it is eligible to be covered by your Pell Grants and Stafford loans. So it's not something that a student has to come out of pocket, on to be able to start the particular program. So that's the benefit for the military folks and how we work with them. The other part that most military are aware of is they do transfer quite a bit, and we've worked it out with multiple locations by bases. Okay, if you end up getting relocated, we just gather your money and send it to the new school. So if you get moved around, you don't have to delay your start in our particular program, because if you end up moving from here to California, well, we just relocate you to the flight school that's by California, where you're going to be relocating, move the money out there, and you pick up where you left off. So the program is seamless in the way that it works. And we've got students that relocate. I mean, that's the military way. In addition to that, you mentioned our first responders, and obviously we have gone through and are still going through a bit of a pandemic, and we're obviously we see the light at the end of the tunnel, but every one of those first responders we want to wholeheartedly thank and praise. And what Liberty has done for all of our first responders, police, fire, EMS, medical staff, and even it has, Civil Air Patrol, and there's many more, and I don't remember the entire list, but it is on the liberty.edu website. If somebody just types in first responder discount, it's a 25% tuition discount. That discount also combines with the military discount that I just spoke of. So if someone is in the military, and when they got out of the military became a police officer, okay, that individual is eligible for both the first responder discount and the military discount. And it provides an immense, it's our way of saying thank you to both of those that have served us, both military and those first responders. And so that's just a great benefit. We can't thank them enough, and that's we're happy to do that.
I mean, that's a lot. That's a lot of discounts on top of each other. That's a great thing that Liberty's doing for all the men and women, both from military and first responders. You mentioned briefly the issues that you had when you were working at other flight schools, leading those flight schools about financial aid? And there are a couple good options, but there's not many options out there. What is a student? What can a student get access to if they're a Liberty student as it relates to financial aid? Let's assume that I want to get my private pilot's license. I want a 4-year degree. I guess I register with Liberty. Do I have access to financial aid?
Certainly. There's the nice part with Liberty. Before a student jumps off, the idea is, yes, if you go to the flight school itself and try to fund something, it's very difficult because you go into your bank and ask for an unsecured loan for $60,000 or so. They're more than likely they're going to laugh at you. Okay. It would have to be secured with a home or something along those lines, which makes it much, much more difficult. What Liberty's got is we deal with lenders that are used to those dollar figures. And so it makes that process much easier. Every student that comes in is going to fill out a FAFSA form, which determines a family's or an individual's expected family contribution, determines if they're eligible for a Pell Grant, which is free money. That free money can be used for tuition and flight fees. Beyond that, there's Stafford loans, those Stafford loans are low interest and they're deferrable until 6 months after a student graduates. So that's the idea that our financial aid team will work with them. And then beyond that, we have other options. We have a Parents Plus loan that the parents can sign for. Again, there's benefits of that particular loan. But if you don't have a parent and you need additional funding, there's additional loans. We deal with multiple different lenders that we can go to, and there's different loan options that are available for those individuals. Those become what they call a career training loan or something along those lines. And those particular loans may not be deferrable, okay, but it's something that we can obtain. And as a last resort, if a student's not able to get any of that, Liberty provides a payment plan option to all students. So this is something you typically don't see. But what we do is we provide, it's an interest-free payment plan option for students. And the only caveat is if you enter into a payment plan for a particular term, okay, is you have to have it paid off before you can register for additional courses. Okay. But say, for example, your Pell Grant comes in and covers a certain amount and you have a $4,000 balance, okay, that you were not able to get cleared for. And so what we would do is you'd talk to the financial aid officer and say, can I get a payment plan on that? And I'll pay you $1,000 a month. Okay, great. The semester is 4 months long, $1,000 a month. As long as that balance is paid off, then you can register for your next courses without any issue. Okay. And that's something that we do routinely. It's an option for students to because we've got some that are working and doing that. So we're going to try to figure out the best way to make something fit. But it's kind of there's an option on the table for every student.
That's awesome. I mean, that could make or break someone becoming a pilot one day. That's a great option. As it relates to another benefit that I think a lot about being around here and training people and people wanting to go to the airlines is the restricted ATP. And I've only been around this aviation stuff really for 5 or 6 years now, and really didn't understand what the restricted ATP was providing students that may be going somewhere and have access to it. Close to us is Louisiana, and they have a couple colleges that do some training that have that option. But we have that option right here at this flight school now through Liberty. Can you describe the restricted ATP and really what that means for a student who's trying to make the decision on where they want to go to get their flight training?
Absolutely. And I guess before starting with what the restricted ATP is, let's back up to how it came about. It's if those of you may have remembered that there was an airline crash within the US that prompted a government action, and the government action then required all pilots to hold an airline transport license to work as a 121 pilot. So that's what became a problem in the past. Only the captain had to hold an airline transport pilot, and the first officer could be a commercially rated pilot. By now making both of them an airline transport pilot, that means that they had to have 1,500 hours and certain things like that. Well, when that came out, then there was the concession for university or graduates of a university program. The FAA put out what they call, some people called it the reduced hour ATP, some called it the restricted ATP. What this is it's a license option for the first officer on an airline, okay, at a reduced privilege. Okay, and so the reduced privilege reduces the time from 1,500 hours to either 1,250 or 1,000, and it reduces the age from 23 years of age to 21 years of age. To obtain that, there's a couple different criteria that a student needs to have. First, the student needs to graduate from a university program that's FAA approved. Okay. And so obviously for Liberty, we've got a few different degrees. The online Bachelor of Science in Aviation, which is the one that's tied with our flight affiliate program, is approved. And then part two is it says you have to complete instrument ground and commercial ground 141 under the university's air agency certificate. So our ground courses are all 141. They're all taught under our air agency certificate, and the student receives a graduation certificate for a 141 course for those particular courses. Then the next one is it says that you have to take instrument and commercial flight concurrently with the ground, but also through the university. And if we have affiliate partnerships like our flight training affiliate networks, they can be completed at the flight training affiliate, but it must be taken through the university. So the student has to sign up for the academic course at the same time, and then it's contracted to the flight school. They can't just go to the flight school. And so if they do it at the same time and they get a letter grade on their transcript for the flight course, okay, then they're eligible. The last part, when I mentioned that there's a 1,250 and a 1,000-hour option, students that complete 30 credits or more of that university's, like our core aviation credits, okay, would be eligible for the 1,250 reduced. If a student completes 60 credits or more of the FAA's approved courses on our degree, then they're eligible for this the 1,000-hour reduced. Okay, and so we have approximately 74 credits or so that are approved courses on there. So students would not typically have an issue being able to obtain that 1,000-hour reduced. Where that comes into play sometimes is if a student transfers in from another college that particular college may not have been approved for the restricted ATP, or they already have some ratings already and try and transfer in. Each particular location tends to be a little bit different, and we work with those students one at a time to kind of talk them through the scenarios as they come in. But it's an immense benefit for the students. It's unfortunately, because it's very distinct on how a student has to meet the criteria. We really don't make the decision. It's it's up to following those parameters of what a student has to do, but we guide them through that because it's something we want the student to have, because it can get them into that ability to be hired much, much faster.
Yeah, sounds like it. I mean, most professional pilots go through their flight training, whatever education that might be, and then they become CFIs and they build the rest of their time that way. I mean, 500 hours is probably 6 or 7, maybe even 8 months of flight instructing to get to that other number, that 1,500 hour number. And so if you're of age and qualify, it's maybe a whole year late, which could be a lot of money at the end of your career as an airline pilot, towards retirement or towards your benefits as a airline pilot.
Well, I agree. Seniority is everything, and because your seniority is going to dictate your pay, your upgrade time, your vacation days, your bid for domicile. There's so many things that seniority is important on, and so you want to be able to, get there ahead of the other guy.
No doubt. So we have been through a pandemic. We've all seen that the airlines have flown less. It's been a little bit easier to get on Wally's schedule if you needed a check ride over the last 12 months or so. You see it from a national perspective, Brian. What do you think the demand is today, and what do you think the demand might be in 18 months for pilots?
Well, the demand has always been on an upward curve. I would say that the pandemic didn't change the trajectory. It just clicked a pause button, is the best way to put it. Those of you that are familiar with Boeing aircraft, you can Google search the Boeing pilot and technician study, and they update this every year, that it advertises the global demand and then just the U.S. demand for pilots over a 10 and 20 year span. And I believe the last outlook was 216,000 new commercial pilots just within the U.S. that are needed within that span. And so that's how many people, and that was pre-pandemic. So that's how many the airline would need over that time frame. And what did we encounter during the pandemic was many of these major airlines that were paused gave individuals that were within 10 years of retirement the ability to retire early. And I heard a number that it was 25% of the workforce took advantage of that. And so it's a significant number of people that retired. And I mean, from a management standpoint, it was a brilliant move because it saved these airlines, and they're in a better position now. But what they need to do is they've got to fill those vacancies. So you're going to see a thrust to hire or pull people up from the regionals to fill not only those early retirements, but we still have that trajectory that we had before that we needed from everyone. And that was such a need and desire before. You saw the industry come out with hiring bonuses, incentives, and everything else to try to get you to look at their airline over the other airline. I think very shortly we're going to see a lot of that resume. It was just in the past month that we've seen almost every regional and major airline announce they're hiring again. Okay, so we're over that hurdle. The door's back open. We have point of contacts that we deal with at these airlines that many of them were not working until recently. So this has come back. We've got a few airlines that we've seen some bonuses come back. What I see is, I think by the end of this year, the start of next year, we're going to be in a completely different place. And, this is going to be behind us. I think we're going to be seeing hiring numbers higher than they were pre-pandemic. And because people are not slowing down, even in the pandemic, I was traveling and the airlines are full. Okay. Yeah. People are still traveling. So that need is there. And I think more and more now that we have vaccines out and everything else that's coming, people still need to travel. And that's something that I don't see going away. So the question is, what is the risk reward? Is it a good time to enter into this? And that's what we look at is, what other career option do you have that you could look at making a 6-figure income, okay, in a regional airline, or a few $100,000 in a major airline or a cargo company if you were coming through flight training. So what are you willing to put into that? And so I've talked to parents about our program, and many of them will I start with a question of, have you thought about what you'd like to major in? And many of them will say, well, yes, they've picked their college, and they told me what their major was going to be and why they picked this particular college. And typically I'll ask, have any of you thought about aviation? And they'll say no. And I'll ask them why. Oh, it's too expensive. I went down to the airport and they ask them how, typical question, how much is all this going to cost? And the idea is a lot of times you'll get someone will say $70,000, $80,000, $100,000. Okay. For that training. And, for example, our degree is somewhere between that 90,000 to 115,000 or so for all your ratings and all your tuition. Okay. Give you just a figure. How does that compare? Okay. I'll pick on one of the universities that's close to me here. Their tuition, room and board is $30,000 a year for a 4-year degree. Okay. So 4 years later, they're going to spend $120,000 to have that 4-year degree. And I'll just pick school teacher. Okay. So they've spent $120,000. There's currently a 40% placement for those individuals, which means 60% of them are back at home in their parents' basement with $120,000 worth of debt. Okay. Our particular degree with all of your flight ratings is less expensive than that other 4-year degree option. And so now what is the demand for pilots? And what you want to look at when you're looking at this is students need to look beyond the degree. Okay. I'm investing this money. Okay. If somebody invests in the stock market, they're going to do a little bit of research into what they're investing in. So when you pick a college degree, do a little bit of research into the industry. What is my expected income? What's my, how much am I going to make over 20, 30 years in this? And what is the percentage of people that are coming through this with a rating? How many of them are getting hired? And compare it to something else. And in the aviation industry, that demand is amazing. And that's what you're leading to of why we're seeing a 40% growth year over year, why we're adding additional locations is, and we tell people, don't take our word for it. Talk to the students that are out there, talk to the students that are online. Many of the different social media groups are referring people to our program because they've gone through it.
Yeah, it is a great time, no question. And I have a daughter that goes to the University of Texas, Hokum, and I can assure you I've spent more than I ever would on flight training and a 4-year degree at Liberty with the University of Texas. Let's just hope she doesn't come live in my basement. There are no basements in Houston. We're sea level, so it'd be full of water. But she's not allowed back home unless she's got a good job. Wally, you talk about it often over the last 6 months. You go to the airport weekly to catch your flights wherever you're going around the world. What is your basis on the I don't want to say pandemic, but the recovery from it as it relates to aviation?
Oh, people are flying. There's no question. The flights are much full. The problem is there aren't as many flights. So the flat out numbers of people that are flying is less, but the demand is coming back. The airlines are adding capacity, and people are in the airplanes. a year ago, the capacity was down and the load factors were down, and that was pretty depressing. Now, with capacity still being down, the load factors are up, the airplanes are full, and as the demand is there, the airlines are definitely adding the capacity, which is good for everybody.
And when we're not on the air, Wally tells me about how long the Starbucks line is his barometer for how well the aviation world is coming back. So
it is. That's initially Starbucks in the airports were closed, and then they opened up, and you could go right up to the front of the line. Now you got to wait in line, and it's a good problem to have. It's when I see lines at places in the airport, I may get a little annoyed, but the other side of me is smiling. Okay, we're getting back to normal.
Well, Brian, I think we've covered a lot of information today. Thank you very much for taking time and being on the show. Anything you would like to close with? Maybe how people can get in touch with Liberty? What's the best way to contact them if they have questions? What would you recommend for someone who's fired up today after listening to this show?
Absolutely. It's my pleasure. If anybody'd like to know more about the Liberty University Flight Training Affiliate Program, the website, you can go to liberty.edu and then just /FTA for Flight Training Affiliate. There's two phone numbers I'm going to give you. The first one is 434-582-7728. And that's our School of Aeronautics number. If you have specific flight-related questions, restricted ATP questions, different things like that. The second number is 1-800-424-9595, and that takes you to our call center. So if you have admissions-related questions or you're ready to pull the trigger, you can, talk to them directly, and, they'll walk you every step of the way through. We have, in our call center, we've got over 1,000 people that are ready to assist, from financial aid to our military affairs department to, the advising, and that's who you'll get in touch with at that particular number. If you don't have a whole lot of time now, what you can do is that liberty.edu/FTA, scroll all the way to the bottom, and we break out our locations by state. If you were to click on Texas, and then it expands, and you'll see United right there. There's a button right next to them that says Get Started, and you can click that particular button, just put in some of your info, and what it'll do is it will forward that to our call center, and a representative will follow up with you shortly. But a couple different options. We're happy to work with you, and new terms are starting every 8 weeks.
Awesome. Thanks again, Brian. Hopefully everybody gets a lot out of it, and you too can get your 4-year degree, restricted ATP, and become an airline pilot today in partnership with Liberty and United Flight Systems. Thanks, Brian. As always, be safe and stay behind the prop.
Thanks for checking out the Behind the Prop podcast. Be sure to click subscribe and check us out online at BehindTheProp.com. Behind the Prop is recorded in Houston, Texas. Creator and host is Bobby Doss. Co-host is Wally Mulhern. The show is for entertainment purposes only and is not meant to replace actual flight instruction. Thanks for listening, and remember, fly safe.